All right, old school here. I have Dick on the show tonight. We're just jumping on, going completely cold tonight. I just scrambled for the last 5 minutes trying to find the wires that I packed in order to do this podcast tonight. Dick, how are you? It's so good to see you.
I'm good. For the record, I got a hold of Dennis and said, "Hey, I want to come on your segment because Dennis, I haven't talked to you in a while, and I miss talking with you. You're a dear friend,
Yeah.
and so we'll just catch up and do it on video." So you're moving? That's always fun with kids, huh? Oh,
Yeah, it's been a headache, Dick. First, thank you for your kind words. I'm so happy that you reached out. It's like the perfect timing too, because it has been a while, and we always have great conversation. And given that I'm moving, this is like a low anxiety talk. Not that I'm anxious doing the show, but because we're friends, it's a little
yeah,
different when you're
yeah.
so familiar with somebody. But yeah, so we're getting ready to move next Wednesday, and it's been a headache. Oh my gosh, the real estate market is just so difficult right now.
I moved a few months ago, and I'm still
Yeah.
can't find stuff like,
Yeah.
guitar chord. Where was that? And but I can't
Yeah.
imagine how your kids are getting older now. How are your kids doing?
I have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and they're doing great. They really are. And given that I work in education, I've had the summer off, so I've been able to take my time and kind of pack and then keep the kids entertained. But we were supposed to be in the house last Wednesday, so we've been boxed up for 2 weeks, and we're we're at the end of our ropes here. So we're just ready to be done and out of here.
Are you moving like cross town or cross
Uh,
state?
No, we're staying within the vicinity, about 30, 40 minutes from where I'm at right now. Somewhere a little more private. Like right now, we moved into a rental. We moved during COVID. And then the housing market went crazy. And we've been trying to get out of our rental ever since because I'm watching just how difficult it is to get into a home and to really build your
Yeah,
own equity again, as opposed to paying rent with a landlord who keeps raising my rent every year. So I'm just watching my money and my
yeah.
investment
It's tough.
potential go down the toilet. So we got lucky and we found a place. It's on an acre of land. It's right across the street from a really big lake. So it's nice. We have a pool for the kids, so I can breathe a little bit easier once we get through settlement and just have some
Well, good
space,
luck.
start building equity again. Thank
So
you. Yeah.
you'll get them in just for the beginning of the school year, hopefully. No. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I go back. Geez, Chick, I go back in 2 weeks, and they go back the week after me. My kids are all at the same school where I work, so it works out. Some days it works out nicely.
Easier commute, then you can just take them with you. Yeah, that's good.
Yes, but the other problem is I just take them with me, so they're with me from
So,
morning until the end of the day. Yeah, long time.
so man, we are in the middle of just the craziest times ever, and we kind of knew it was coming, but
Yeah,
it still just slaps you across the face. It's just
yeah.
nuts.
Dick, these are the times I remember the first time you called me. I was driving just down the road and you called me and invited me to come work with you guys. And that's when we started talking about, these at that point it was these abstract hardships that were coming. And now
Mhm.
we're in it. It's not as scary now. Once you're in it, it's not as bad as, when you start thinking about, oh my gosh, all these things that could go wrong. It's been really hard, but I think we're definitely in those times that we've been preparing for now.
For me, the hardest time, I think, and you remember because you were on, was COVID when I
Yeah.
left the country and we did a couple of segments when
Yep.
we really thought it was all falling apart, when they were
Yeah.
locking everything down and we were thinking, is this really it? Is our
Yeah.
civilization collapsing? That was the hardest
It was so
for me.
scary.
Everything since then has been kind of okay, well, another leg,
Yeah.
get through it.
Once you go through something like that, Dick, I mean, that was really, I mean, you were afraid for your safety. You were afraid to go outside. I mean, there was a different culture, different language. That was awful for you.
We were we were afraid that the lockdowns were going to be worse, that
Yeah.
Hawaii would be left here with no shipments coming. And if that was
Hmm.
the case, it would be very bad here on this island because there's over 1 million people, and
Yeah.
if the stuff doesn't get shipped in, we're not self-sufficient.
Yeah. Big
So
Island might have had a better chance, but on Oahu, I think you guys would have been in some trouble.
Big Island, Molokai, I think Maui
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to be on Maui. Kauai
No.
could go
Yeah.
either way. But Hawaiians, and Hawaiians are not the same as people who live in Hawaii. Not
Right.
all Hawaii residents are Hawaiians because Hawaiian means native Hawaiian. But
Yeah.
Hawaiians, Hawaii people would get through it pretty better because we have the aloha spirit and it doesn't get cold here, so no one's going to freeze to death. So, yeah.
I'm still here. My camera.
Yeah, I see you. That's cool.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah. You're right. Plants are a lot different.
Your audio's going a little funky
Let
now.
me pause this dynamic here. Hold
Okay.
on. Okay, back at it. Sorry about that, but we were talking about just surviving on Hawaii. If everything was to shut down, it would have been quite a challenge.
Well, it may get challenging a lot of places.
Yeah.
As we're recording this on August, was today the 2nd? Yeah, August
Hmm.
2nd on Friday. The stock market really tanked today, and
Hmm.
the numbers for the employment numbers were really bad, and the U.S. has been getting by with printing fake money, and I think that time is coming to an end. Uh, I've been talking to our analyst Marty Hibbs, the great
Hmm.
technical analyst. He predicted this over a week ago. He said, "Hey,
Yeah.
we're going to have a big drop in the stock market." So this might be the start of some problems economically.
What do you think is the best thing that people can do you know, we can still do some preparations now, I guess, but to make big preparations just to get through something like this, Dick, what are your recommendations?
Well, don't take financial advice from me, but I would put some part of whatever you can afford into cryptos, into good
Mhm.
cryptos. I would
Yeah.
also, it's easy to go to Costco and buy a case of beans,
Yeah.
and you can live off beans and rice. I
Yeah.
pretty much do. So yeah, have a little food stored. I got, I don't have it here with me. It's in my car. This is a cool thing. Have you heard of Byrna, the
Mm-mm.
self-defense Byrna?
No.
Byrna. It is it's like a paintball gun, but it shoots tear gas
Hmm.
canisters. Hawaii is a super unfriendly to Second Amendment.
Yeah.
You can have a gun in Hawaii, but you can't. If it's in your car, you've got to be going to a gunsmith or a range. And if you're
Yeah.
caught going any other place, they'll confiscate it. You'll be in trouble. You get a
And you have to
felony.
register within a week of getting to the
Have to
island if you're
register it.
locating.
It's just
Yeah, they're pretty
horrific
strict.
gun laws. So there's no chance you're going to be carrying a firearm in Hawaii. But
Hmm.
Byrna is totally legal, and some of them are orange,
Hmm.
some of them are black. I got the black one, and you can carry it concealed. It's not a firearm. It's the police recommend them. A lot of the local politicians. I went to the Byrna store, so I got one for my wife and one for me. So it has these round pellets and it
Hmm.
shoots with CO2. And the Byrna store told me they've had over 60 confirmed cases in less than 2 years where people say in Hawaii it has saved their life. People just if someone is harassing them, there's a lot of crazy people on the street. And
Yeah.
Hawaii is believe it or not, Honolulu is seeing a real influx of mainland homeless people that are drug addicts.
Yeah.
So
I've seen
our
that.
streets are filled with
Yeah.
people that aren't right and are downright aggressive. So people say just showing it, just lifting your shirt, that people will run away. Hopefully, I never have to use it, but I've got that for self-protection when I'm out and about. I go to the beach every morning.
Hmm.
Beautiful beach, Ala Moana Beach, and a lot of subscribers, a lot of YouTube people,
Hmm.
they come see me on the beach.
They come find
Every
you. Yeah.
morning there's like half a dozen homeless people imported from the mainland sleeping on the beach. They're
Right.
sending them over here. It says,
Wow.
and
That's tough.
yeah, the homeless problem is because it's so expensive here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's a shame. I want to give my law enforcement caveat. Would be a good idea for anybody considering that. Take a firearms self-defense course, even if you're not carrying a loaded firearm. If you're carrying anything with as a projectile, and you're going to be showing, presenting your
Yeah.
your weapon there. There's a lot of legalities that come into that and to play with that, and also just in weapon retention. Take a good training course where it teaches you how to retain your weapon because a lot of cops that get shot with their own gun.
Well,
Um,
yeah, another thing with the Byrna, if you're in a situation where there's an officer there, don't show the gun. Put your hands
yeah,
up and say, "Officer, I have a Byrna. It's there. I'm
right.
not drawing it." The
Yeah.
lady at the Byrna store told me she got pulled over and she had it, on the console or the seat,
Mm,
and she kept her hands on the steering wheel and said, "Officer, I have a Byrna. It's right there." The
yeah.
officer looked and said, "Good for you. That's smart." So,
Wow.
but yeah,
Okay. Good.
you want to be cognizant if you're in a situation and because you were a police
Yeah.
officer, if I'm flashing that, I'm a threat to you, and you
I don't
would
know if it's a gun or not. I'll
you
tell
don't
you,
know what
I
it
had
is. You'd see it, you'd be justified in shooting. So yeah, if I was ever in a situation with police, no, no,
I had a situation, and I was a cop right before all of this, tension with the police started. I got out right before all that started, but I was sitting in my police car, and this guy parked his vehicle across from me, and I'm watching him like this is really kind of odd, and I'm just watching him, and he jumps out of his car, and he goes like this and comes up like this with something in his hand. And I almost drew my weapon and fired because I thought he was targeting me. And
yeah,
then he continued the motion and he must have gotten an urgent phone call. And he jumped out so quick, but it
there's a
looked
phone.
like he presented a weapon because it was one of the bigger phones and then went up. But man, it messed with my head. It's like I almost
But
shot this guy because he had all the behaviors of something that I could
yeah,
articulate. But obviously, he was just making a phone call. It would have been horrible to shoot somebody like that. It's scary.
on the other hand, you see a lot of police body cam footage where guys draw guns and shoot at police, and it happens so fast.
Quick.
The officer has such a split second to make that
It's not
decision.
they trained us the minimum safe distance where you can, if you have your firearm, in its holster, to get your firearm out, present it, and put it on target, where somebody that has a knife that's trying to attack you is 21 feet. So if somebody is within 21 feet of you, that's pretty far. They're going to get to you and stab you most likely before
Yeah.
you get your firearm
In
out on target and fire.
most face-to-face encounters, you're going to be like 4 or 5 feet,
You're
three
you're a
feet.
lot closer. That's why I always say if you're going to carry any kind of weapon, take serious training in how to retain it. Because somebody who's either, I mean, I've fought people who've been hopped up on drugs and they feel
Mhm.
no pain. It's like I'm doing all the
Yeah,
moves and it's not doing what it's
yeah,
supposed to. Have some training
yeah,
on how to really, your goal is to get some distance and run away.
yeah.
So if somebody goes for it, you need to know what to do to get, back to safety. I can't stress that enough.
What they suggest with the Byrna is shoot in the tear gas and pepper spray will disable. They shoot and then run and get the police. But
Yes,
anyway,
you
enough.
want to get some
Okay,
distance.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love your T-shirt. You and I had the greatest. We had such a great time at that Litecoin conference.
Yeah, that was
That was
nice.
like
Yeah, this is going back. This was right before COVID kicked off, right?
that was
2019, I
like the
think.
last of the good old days, but pre-COVID, and we
Yep.
all met in Las Vegas at the
Yeah.
Litecoin conference, and
Yeah. Well, that was the first time we all got together. And then a few months later, we went on lockdown. But that was a lot of fun to be there and meet. We got to meet so many subscribers and talk to people.
yeah,
I mean, that was really a humbling experience, for us. It was great.
you you were a star. Well, we all were. We didn't make it into the actual conference that much because we were out in
Yeah,
the halls talking with people and doing interviews. We had
that's
such
how
a
it
great
felt.
time just hanging out in the lobby at the hotel.
I spent a lot of time with Edward, and I felt like I was with a real celebrity because people just kept stopping him and asking him for like questions. People wanted to, and that
Yeah,
was what was so neat about it. People just wanted to ask about when somebody asks you about your work that you don't know personally, and they can
yeah.
meet them face to face. There's something really humble about that. Is that the right word? It's such a fascinating, a fabulous experience to meet people
Yeah,
like that.
it's it makes you realize, like, okay, you do these podcasts and you're talking with me or you're talking with your guests and you're talking to a webcam.
Yeah.
But when you get out and meet people that go, hey, you're Dennis Nappy, man. I see
Yeah.
you on your, and it's like, oh, there are really people watching this and they're listening to what we say.
Yeah.
That's the humbling part is like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to make sure I'm saying something worthwhile for them
Yeah. It gives
and
you
not
me
misleading them.
a greater sense of responsibility when you can put faces with the people that are following you. Like right now, it's just numbers on the screen, what we see in terms of how many people watch our stuff. But when you start seeing the faces of people and they start giving you feedback, I mean, that's a really neat experience.
Here's a cool one, Dennis.
Hmm.
There's a guy that is a member of Future Forecasting, and he didn't know anything about cryptos, but was a fan of remote viewing back when I was doing remote viewing for Courtney Brown and Farsight with Daz
Hmm.
Smith. And he tells me he liked watching the remote viewing back, this was 2012,
Right.
12 years ago. And then saw me on YouTube, started following and heard me talking about cryptos. So he goes, wow, I trust Nick Allgaier. And I'm like, don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that. He invested and he made a bunch of money and he's
Wow.
now comfortable. And he's becoming part of our team at Future Forecasting.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's
That's great.
that's, that almost makes me a little nervous. Like, wow, I don't want to influence people on how to live their lives. I don't really want to take that on,
Yeah.
even though I do.
You do, but that's not your intent. You're doing what you love doing. You love being in front of the camera and
Yeah.
really like you love telling story. And I don't mean story in the
That's
fictitious sense, but
that's
you're a
the thing that
great
motivates
storyteller.
me. Like just before we came on, um, somebody sent me a meme, a Bitcoin meme, and it was $20, the amount of groceries $20 would buy you in 2012, the amount of groceries that it'll buy you 2019, 2020, 2024,
Right.
going down. Bitcoin, one Bitcoin would buy you this many groceries in 2012, this
Yeah.
many, and now it'll
Oh,
buy you a
wow.
luxury car. And I
Yeah.
thought, that's the greatest meme. And
Yeah.
so I don't really need to go on YouTube, but I thought, I want to show that to people. So I set
Yeah.
up a camera and I did a segment on it just because I enjoy
Yeah.
doing the segment. It's in
Yeah.
no way work for me. So
Yeah, and you can see that. And I've always loved watching your YouTube segments over the years and watching you, and I know you're retired from the media and stuff, but once you stepped out of that, like I've watched you grow in terms of being comfortable, really being yourself, right?
the
Just being it, letting it,
liberation of being able to be
yeah.
myself.
And you can see that you've had so much, I mean, and we've just had so many good laughs behind the scenes as you're
Oh
throwing
yeah.
ideas to us and stuff. And I love seeing you just enjoying yourself and really having fun.
Because being on TV on mainstream, you work for the ABC station or the NBC station locally, and I did hits on CNN and CBS and ABC. You put on a tie, make
Yeah.
sure your hair, like totally right. You get the microphone, and you've got to be careful what you say because, especially in the old days, I mean, now they're allowed to express their opinion, but you never could express your opinion when I was doing
Yeah.
it. If I
Yeah.
would have expressed a political opinion, the news director would have called me in, sat me down, and said, Dick, you have ruined the reputation of this company. You've ruined the reputation of our newsroom, and you've ruined your own reputation. You're gone. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Summarily would have been fired. And now they let it. Uh, they're encouraged to give.
Well, before it was just, objective fact reporting, right? Here's what happened. Here's what I observed. Here's what I caught on camera. And I'm not going to tell you how I feel about it because that wasn't your role. It was to
It was
deliver the
yeah.
news.
It was like yeah. If I'd go to a crime scene or a fire or something, I could take note and say this was a single family home, what I'd seen for myself. But mostly it was
Right.
attribution to official sources. So it would be
Yeah.
police say
Yeah.
this happened, police say, or you
Right.
would say, this politician today said, and you'd play a soundbite,
Yeah.
And then what you would do is you'd call around and say, who has another point of view? So you'd call the
Yeah.
opposing point of view and say, hey, this
Right.
politician just said this. What do you, well, my position is this. You
Right.
present both of them with
Right.
equal weight. Now, sometimes reporters would cheat. If they didn't like the politician, they'd use a soundbite where they were hemming and hawing and stuttering.
Right.
If you like the
Right.
politician, you would find where they began a statement very
Right.
passionately and took it to its conclusion and gave it a
Yeah.
very strong ending, and that's how they feel, and
Right.
you'd use that one. So, but I always tried to be like, okay, what are they trying to say? All right, let them say it. Let someone else refute it,
Yeah.
and then just take it down the middle. So, but man,
And all that's
so anyway,
that's
to your point about watching me on YouTube, I remember first time on YouTube, I expressed an opinion. I felt unclean. I felt like I've just
yeah.
sinned. I
Yeah.
just took a stand, and now I I'm more and more comfortable with it, and I have fun with it.
Yeah.
But
Which is great.
I don't want to run into people that I've offended. Like, I may have strong political views, but there are people that I like, and I give out my card. I don't want to offend them if
Right.
they watch it. And sometimes I do,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah, it's hard not to. I mean, I always try to walk that line of not offending. I just don't want to get into that culture nowadays. And you don't go out of your way to try to offend people, but at some point you're going to say something that somebody doesn't like. It's inevitable when you're so public about stuff.
yeah. So the remote viewing is getting more and more challenging. I
Yeah, a lot
think,
of noise, huh?
well, remote viewing the future events is getting more and more difficult because it's so many weird things are happening,
Yeah,
and it becomes a cascade, like what's going to happen next. Like
right,
one thing is causing another. It's a chain reaction. So
right.
we're expecting the chain reaction, right? And so try to put that aside. And
Yeah,
remote viewing, I don't think was really developed to be a future predictive tool. It was more about, can we perceive what's going on behind the Iron
right,
Curtain? Can we see what's behind the fence?
right.
What's
Like
under
real
the
time.
tarp? That type of thing. And they
Hmm.
discovered it kind of by accident, where they weren't meaning to, but they'd perceive stuff, and then they'd document it, and they'd say, well, oh, we were wrong on that one. You missed target. And they'd set it aside. And then like a month later, something would happen, and they go, wait, where did we see that? Oh, somebody in their remote viewing session had that. So
Yeah,
it wasn't really devised for that. And I never set out to have my goal be to be Nostradamus,
right,
I'm going to be the all-seeing eye of the future.
right.
But we're we do it. We've adapted to it. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's
Yeah.
just an experiment. We don't ever claim we're 100% right on these things.
I was doing world events with you guys for a couple of years, and I've noticed the more you do it, the more I guess you hone into those type of signals coming in. But for me, I stepped out of it because it was getting for my own mental health. Then I'm constantly tracking the news. I'm constantly
Yep.
that adrenaline spike of, is this the hit? Is this what I'm looking for? Did I predict this? And then you get
Yeah.
the big mushroom clouds that we would draw. And I had to make the choice. I'm going to focus my remote viewing training in different directions, because that for me personally was an area it's really hard for me to
Yeah.
process.
And it'll get you either way,
Yeah,
because if you do one and you're wrong,
right,
then you have self-doubt and you
right,
kick yourself like, oh, well, that was wrong.
yeah,
Hang on one second.
sure,
I had to cough. Sorry.
it's all right.
But then when you're right, when you get something dramatic and unusual, and when it comes to you in the remote viewing, it's so fleeting, and
Right.
it just has this kind of odd timbre or quality. And then when you see it come, that messes with your mind. Like you look at it and
Yeah.
you go, wow, I saw
Yeah.
that before it happened.
Right.
So either way, it's destabilizing.
Yeah, it's a lot to process. I mean, and we've been doing this. I mean, you and Dad's been doing it since the Farsight days, and I joined you guys, I guess, 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, and it still blows my mind. Even if I, sit down and do a session and predict something, like it's mind blowing because the way we were brought up in our understanding of the world and reality, you can't see the future. That's the stuff of science fiction. And you guys do it every single month with accuracy. Every month, you guys have accurate predictions coming in for years now. We've got years of data on this.
Well, somebody gets it. And let me take a moment to give a tip of the hat to Daz Smith, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am today. There wouldn't be future forecasting without Daz Smith. Some people approached me and said, "Hey, Dick, you're a pretty good remote viewer. You could do this on a private site." And I was like, not alone, I can't. It wouldn't, I couldn't take that on alone. So I contacted Daz because I'd worked with him at Farsight.
Right.
And I knew that he and I could be complementary. So I talked him into it. It's grown a lot from them. From there, we've added you. We added Edward Reardon and Naeem Hitomi for a while.
Yeah.
But never would have gotten started without Daz Smith coming on board with me.
He's something special, and what he does for the remote viewing community. I mean, the way he archives things, the way he's got an ability to encourage people that students that are trying to learn it. And he has all these resources through his website, and like, he's just a good guy all around. And I think a great voice for remote viewing.
Yeah.
Helping to
He's a
spread it.
good guy. I'm glad he's a friend. He and I used to argue back 15 years ago. And I'm so glad that I pulled my head out of my butt and made friends with him. And
he does love a good Facebook debate. I haven't seen any in a while, but he does like to get into it on Facebook.
He will not back down.
Yeah.
If he has a position that he believes in, you're not gonna. You don't try to argue with him.
Daz is very intelligent, and he knows his stuff. He's not talking on theory. He's talking from experience, and Daz is the one who has spoken to most of the people who have done it. The things people argue about, Daz is like, well, I was in Ingo's house, and here's what he told me. So he's a wealth of knowledge and experience, but a very humble guy at that.
Yeah, not just remote viewing, but UFO stuff too.
Yeah, those are always fun topics. Whenever I get Daz on, we usually go down the UFO rabbit hole. We at least have to do a UFO update whenever I have the chance to talk with him.
I'm waiting to see. There was one of my monthly predictions for August was a dramatic, very, very clear UFO video picture. And somebody sent me one today. There was one that was, but it wasn't the one I saw. This one was gray. The one I saw, this is the one I'm waiting for, is flashing lights where you, not just lights, but you can see the shape of the disc and the lights, red and blue, and over homes at dusk or at night. So we're waiting for that one. But there's more and more UFO stuff coming out. It's interesting times.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where it's going. I have my own ideas, but where it's going and how fast we're going to get there in terms of revealing what's out there.
What do they call it? Catastrophic disclosure, or all at once, where officialdom comes out and says, okay, we've been hiding these